Good morning, or afternoon, evening, whatever. Still trying to make sense of this whole reaction to COVID-19. Again, for everyone watching, I'm not a conspiracy theorist person. I don't care where this virus came from. I don't care if it's engineered, manufactured, zoology, or from a bat. I don't care if the Democrats are behind it. I don't care about how this virus came upon us. My concern is the global reaction to this virus. I want to make sure you understand that. Second thing, I'm not a doctor. Never claimed to be a doctor. I don't give medical advice. I only question what's going on with the global governmental reaction to this virus. I'm not uneducated. My knowledge, training, education is in the technical field. So I'm not stupid. I'm a constitutionalist. Firm constitutionalist. I will defend the KKK's right to march down the streets of Atlanta. I will defend the Black Panthers' right to march down the streets of Boston. I will defend your right to say whatever dumb shit you want to say all day long. If we do not have a free society, all else is lost. A free society is not a polite society. A free society is not a free society. Keep that in mind. Had a discussion today with a coworker. It was rather funny about the churches being shut down. He's not a church guy. Okay, fine, whatever. And he was all about churches being shut down and all that stuff, right? So then I brought up what was going on in Illinois when the COVID stuff first broke out, where the governor of Illinois wanted to ban the sales of weapons and ammunitions under the whole guise of the whole state of emergency stuff under COVID. Oh, he wasn't. No. He wasn't having that. No. We can't do that. We can shut down churches, but we can't stop guns. It was quite funny, but anyway, I digress. So here we are. We have Bill Gates now coming out with this vaccine plan of his. There's multiple facets to it, but I'm going to highlight just a couple. First and foremost, he owns the patent to the virus. Or I'm sorry, he owns the patent to the vaccine. I guarantee you this vaccine ain't going to be free. He also wants to have a mechanism in place to track. He called it a certificate, but it's a means to track who has had corona and recovered and who has been vaccinated against corona. Should be scary enough in and of itself. But now anyway, so he wants to come out with this vaccine. Wants everybody. There's going to be 2 test sites in the United States. Philadelphia is one, and I think Missouri, if I'm not mistaken, is the other one. Forgive me if I'm not exactly correct. But I looked at this and went, hey, whoa, time out. This is a novel virus. Let's just say late November. It was identified, right? So December, January, February, March. We've had 4 full months of this new otherwise known as a novel virus. And now he has a vaccine. That's quite coincidental. Oh, that he owns the patent to. Oh, that he's owned since, I think it was November of 2019 he got the patent for the vaccine for the novel COVID-19 virus. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird. So anyway, Trump put out about the malaria chloroquine and Z-Pack combination for treating COVID-19. The world blew up. How dare he? There's governors in the United States that said, no, we're banning it. You can't use these drugs to treat COVID because it's not proven. Even though the drugs have been around for, I don't know, decades, even though both drugs are approved by the FDA, even though potential side effects are known, we can't try that. We can't try it to see if it works because we don't know. Hasn't been enough testing on these drugs that have been approved since the 1960s. But yes, let's try this vaccine that's less than 4 months, that's 4 months old. No idea of whether A, it's going to work, B, side effects, or C, how effective it is. But we're going to try that. Media is all about it. I keep telling you, none of this stuff makes sense. None of it does. So here we are in a world where Bill Gates, you can think what you want about the guy. There's a whole bunch of stuff out in the world about this guy and how bad he is. He's evil. He's, Satan incarnate, right? he left Microsoft and became a philanthropist. Donates more money to the World Health Organization than the entire country of England does. He's basically second only to the United States in donations to the World Health Organization. He's not an official member because he's not an actual country. But he attends the summits and meetings as if he were his own country. So anyway, we have that going on. Another thing of this whole reaction, we have people being arrested for violating guidance. Social distancing is not a law in any city, state, county in the country of the United States. It has not been through Congress, through the Senate, nor has it been signed into law by Trump, the president. Governors and mayors have authority and extra powers when there's a state of emergency. These are not laws, but people are being arrested. Oh, but wait, that's right. They're not being arrested specifically for violation of these social distancing guidances. They're being arrested for disobeying a lawful order of a police officer. It's funny how that happens. But at the same time this is going on, we have citizens, that's you, picking up the phone and calling the police because your neighbors across the street are having a birthday party for their 10-year-old daughter and there's more than 10 fucking people there. You're doing it. There was an article that came out the other day about police are saying, please stop calling. You're overwhelming our police force with these calls. So not only are social distancing guidances, not laws, but are being enforced. Now we have our own citizens picking up the phone and calling the police because the neighbor's having a birthday party and there's 15 people there. Oh, but it gets better. It gets better. So at the same time, they're arresting people for this whole thing, social distancing crap. Oh, that's right. They're releasing prisoners and convicts out of jail, some of them violent criminals, because of COVID-19. Oh yeah, by the way, the police aren't responding to certain calls like burglary, robbery, shoplifting, multitude of crimes. because of COVID-19. But yet, you hold a church service and there's more than 10 people there, you're going to be arrested. That's where we are. That's where we are. And before you get this twisted, understand something. I have a huge respect for police officers. These guys put their ass on the line every day. Not questioning their integrity. However, while I was wearing the uniform, I had the duty and obligation to not follow unlawful orders. As a matter of fact, if you wear the uniform, the military uniform, and you follow an unlawful order, a order you know to be unlawful, you can get jacked up for it. It could be something as simple as a letter, a reprimand letter, if you will. It could be non-judicial punishment. It could be a court-martial, depending upon the severity of the order you followed, knowing it was unlawful. Police officers have the same obligation. I don't care if you're a deputy sheriff, if you're a police officer, I don't care. If your superiors come to you and tell you to enforce a law or to order you to do something that's in support of an unlawful order, or that constitutes an unlawful order, you have the duty and the obligation to not follow it. It may cost you your job, but you represent the state. If you are knowingly enforcing unlawful orders, you are part of the problem. I had the same sacrifices when I wore a uniform. It's a tough, shitty situation to be in, but it is what it is. So I digress. We have in Kansas wanting to track everybody, not just the positive corona people, everybody by their cell phone to make sure they're following social distancing guidance. They want to have the ability to tap your phone to find out where you are, tap everybody else's phone to see who's there around you to make sure you're following social distancing guidances. And some of y'all are okay with this. We have West Virginia. It just keeps going. West Virginia court ordering positive coronavirus patients who've been ordered to self-quarantine at home to wear ankle monitors to make sure they stay at home. And y'all are just okay with this. There's more. This has been politicized, no doubting it. Everything that happens gets politicized, right? It's nothing new. But here we are, turning against each other. We got Karen. I'm sorry if your name's Karen and you're not like the Karen is, but it is what it is. Picking up the phone, calling the police on their neighbor because they're not social distancing. The argument goes, well, they can infect other people. It isn't just them. If they get sick, okay, they get sick, but they can infect other people. That is a fallacy on many levels. Could they infect other people? Sure. But the other side of that coin is they could also not infect other people. What's the number of cases in the United States? What percentage of the population does that represent? Let's just say it's 1%. It's not. It's much lower, but we're going to use 1% for a round number. If there's 100 people, odds are, probability speaking, one person is positive for corona. If there's 10 people, odds are, I don't know, a tenth of that person is positive for corona? A tenth of a person? We're so worried about potentially infecting other people, you don't stop to think that maybe they're not infecting other people. They're just enjoying. So, people are worried about infecting other people, but they're not worried about those who don't infect other people. But they need to violate their rights, even though they don't know if they're positive or not. They're just going off some probability matrix in their head that everybody's infected and just doesn't know it, and you're going to pass it off to somebody. So everybody's rights need to be violated because they want to, be safe or jump on this bandwagon, or they want to feel right because everybody else is doing it. We all need to do it. And if you're the one person who's saying, no, this is stupid, you're stupid, you don't know what you're doing. I look at this like there's this herd mentality. I've said it before. I see this herd headed for this cliff. I'm the one going, hey, there's a cliff up there. You're about to go fall off the cliff. They all look at me like I got 4 heads. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm stupid. I don't have the correct 3 little, letter designator at the end of my name to know what I'm talking about. So they're going to keep on running because everybody else is running. I'm headed that way. I don't give a shit what the herd does. I've always been that way. You're headed for a cliff. You're going to fall off a cliff. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Got interrupted twice and then dinner and stuff. So, welcome to inside my house. So, going back to violating everybody's rights and what's going on with this whole virus and all this other stuff. If you want to feel safe, do what you got to do. Stay home. Whatever. Don't care. I look at the numbers again and again and again and again. The numbers just got reduced, or the projected numbers just got reduced again. The IMHE numbers model that everybody uses, again, the model last month being March, just a couple days ago, or a week ago, said by this time we'd have 2.5 million cases in the United States. We got, 300,000? For reference, for you people that don't do math, 1% of the United States population would be 3.3 million. That's 1% of our population. 3.3 million. We have 300,000. Which would be, I don't know, a tenth of a percent of the positive cases of our population. But we all got to freak out. We all got to call the cops on our neighbors. We all got to give up our individual liberties to be safe and not turn into a COVID zombie. I'll move on a little bit. This is for you Mulan Lobby people. Some of y'all need to scrape that sticker off your car, burn your t-shirt, burn your hats, cover over the tattoo you got. If you're staying at home, abiding by these guidelines, picking up the phone and calling the cops on your neighbor, if you're doing all this stuff, you need to scrape the shit off your car and burn your shirts. The thought process behind Mulan Labe is come take it. Meaning, if you come to take, it refers specifically to the Second Amendment, but if you're going to come to my house and take my guns, you're going to take them from my cold dead hands. It's kind of the mentality. But here we are, giving up our First Amendment rights, Fourth Amendment rights, Fifth Amendment rights, Sixth Amendment rights, without a shot being fired. If you're supporting it, scrape the shit off your car, burn your shirt, burn your hat, cover your tattoo, because you're a pussy. Cold hard facts of life. You're gonna shoot the police that are gonna come through your door in a team, heavily armed, body armor, etc. And you're gonna shoot them before you give up your guns. But yet you are giving up all your other rights, or portions of your other rights, huge chunks of your other rights, without a shot being fired. It's funny how that works. Going back to I'm going to go step into the economic world of this. The last numbers I saw was 10 million new unemployed people filing for unemployment insurance because they lost their job because of everything that's going on with the economy for COVID. That's 10 million in addition to the existing millions of people that were already unemployed. Nobody yet that I have seen has done any kind of projections as to what this is going to cost us come the end of this. Whether it be a vaccine, whether it be the malaria drug, whether it be divine intervention that makes this whole COVID thing go away. Nobody has done the projection what this is going to cost us in the long term. I'm not talking strictly monetarily. I'm talking about evictions, homelessness, unemployment, people don't have money for food, children being separated from their families, because as a parent, if you cannot feed, clothe, or house your kid, you cannot have custody of your child. The custody will be taken from you. What's this going to cost us? There have been a few blips on the media concerning this, meaning suicides, drug use is going to skyrocket because of the stress, the anxiety. But that's about it. It's going to cost us, people. It's going to cost us severely. Economically, financially, and socially, it's going to cost us. All over a virus that is now deemed not as deadly as when it first came out. Projections have been dropped twice. The number of cases we're supposedly had were not even within a 10% tile of the projected numbers. All projections have a margin of error, plus or minus 3%, plus or minus 5%, whatever, right? There's always a margin of error when you're doing projections because it's a projection. You don't know. When you go from 2.5 million in the United States to 300,000, you far exceeded the margin of error in a projection, computer-based model, etc. But here we are. They're not social distancing properly. I see it daily about people ranting and raving about people not following the social distance guidelines. And people commenting, "Did you call the police?" Is this where we are? I'm not a doomsday guy, but looking at what's going on with this virus, how the global governments are reacting, to include ours, all the draconian measures being taken over this virus, and then looking at bills being pushed through our Congress, the digital currency, Dan Bongito's show today and yesterday touched on it. You need to watch those if you haven't. You really need to. To be his April 6th and April 7th show. Not only can they control what you purchase or don't purchase, they can go into a negative equity status, meaning if you've got money in the bank, it will now cost you. That's negative interest rates. It happened in Japan. The safe industry, like, safe combination, put stuff in, it's protected, exploded. Because everybody in Japan was taking their money out of the bank when they tried the negative equity thing, took the cash out of the bank and put it in their safe at home. They made money that way because they weren't losing money keeping it in the bank. But if you don't have cash, if we're a cashless society, you can't take that out of the bank. Can you go to a payday loan place when you need a little bit extra cash? When we're on a digital currency? Can you buy that, $10 item at a garage sale? Can you buy a gun from a gun store? Because they can control it. It's no longer your money, it's their money. It's your allowance. Yeah. If the end was near, it would be this kind of error in time. I'm not saying the world's ending. I'm not. I'm not saying, the zombies are going to come take over the world. It's not going to be, the Walking Dead. Not that kind of stuff. The end of the world I'm talking about is the end of our world, meaning our liberties. They've already been curtailed. Our forefathers, the final straw to kick off the Revolutionary War was a 3% tax on tea. There had been some other bad stuff that happened. That was the final, fuck this, I'm done, we're kicking ass. A 3% tax on tea. And now, 234 years later, or whatever, 250 years later, we're calling the cops on our neighbors. Because they're not breaking the law. No. They're just being unsafe. If you're one of those, let me ask you a question. If it's all about people's safety and saving lives, are you for banning cigarettes? Are you? It's a known fact cigarettes kill people. Oh, yeah, and by the way, other people can be affected. So is that just a personal choice? Secondhand smoke, that whole thing? Yeah, it's a real thing. They can affect other people. But you're cool with it? Or you don't pay any attention to it? But you want to save lives. You want to keep other people from being infected from a virus that's not as deadly as they say it is. It's deadly. People die from it, not doubting that. Not saying they're not. I'm not saying this is a great big, wag dog movie thing in relation to this virus. I'm not. It's a real thing. But is it worth it? Is what we're doing long run, long term, worth what we're doing to ourselves right now? The Constitution doesn't just matter when you're sick or when you're healthy. The Constitution always matters. Protect it. If you don't agree with the Constitution, you got issues. The Constitution is what grants you, protects your right to believe that it's wrong and to express those beliefs. Without that Constitution, you couldn't do that. You'd be put in jail, you'd be a dissenter, you'd be put in a gulag, whatever, right? But it's what we have. It's what makes us American. It is our culture. Oh, America doesn't have a culture. Or our culture is, hamburgers and hot dogs and french fries and driving fast and stuff. No. Our culture is the Constitution. Without it, there would not be an America. We're the only one with a constitution like we have on the planet. There's other countries that have adopted similar stuff, but they have different caveats to them. They have parliament, they have a king, they have, that kind of stuff, right? That constitution is our American culture. It's what separates us from the rest of the world. It's what makes us better than a lot of countries on the planet. Because we have the freedom of expression, the freedom of assembly, the freedom of speech, the freedom to practice whatever religion we want to keep and bear arms. We're entitled to our due process. We're entitled to see our accusers. We're entitled to a jury by our peers. All the other rights, they're all there. Freedom of travel. That you can't do, like, was it Pennsylvania? If you're a New Yorker and you go to Jersey, they're going to come knock on your door. Oh, sorry, last one. I read this one today. There's a little town in Montana, the southwest corner. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. Their version of their Department of Health is knocking on doors to see who's there, because they see cars in the parking in the driveway that don't live there. They're calling people who's at your house. In the United States, this is happening in a city where the nearest COVID-19 case is a couple hundred miles away. What are we doing, people? What are we doing? Please help me understand this. The numbers don't make sense. All the other medical shit that's going around this, you have so many different polarities on this whole thing. None of it makes sense. The reaction by all the governmental agencies across the planet doesn't make sense. What we're doing to each other doesn't make sense. Help me make sense of it. Can you? Can anybody? Save your conspiracy theories. Just explain it with numbers, with data, with information. Please.